Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for September 2021. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me, as always, and unfortunately we're remote this month, but he's still here, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
Hey, John, doing good.
That's good to hear, Tim. Now, we decided to do it remotely, guys. I don't know where you are located in the United States or overseas or wherever, but here in our area of Texas, things are actually pretty high as far as COVID is concerned. So just to keep me and Tim safe, we decided to do this one remotely. Hopefully next month we'll be able to get back into being in the same room together like we normally are. But I know it's disappointing for those of you guys who like seeing us in the same room, but it is what it is. Hopefully this whole COVID spike that we're experiencing will be over soon. But with all that said, Tim, how are you doing? How are things going at Chuck E. Cheese right now?
We had, slowed down a lot since school has started. And I think you're right. I think that there is, East Texas seems like a pretty hot spot for COVID right now. I think it's actually affecting business some. I know us personally, we went through the drive-thru a couple times instead of going out to eat. We're staying in a little bit more. I actually thought I was sick the other day, so I self-quarantined for a day and took my COVID test, and I was fine. But I did have a sinus infection, got some medicine. So, it's kind of, John, it's like everybody's, you either got COVID or you're sick with something else. It's this East Texas changing the weather, allergy season, and stuff. So it's hard to tell what's going on around here. So a lot of people, I think, are just kind of staying in. Plus, stuff's just gotten so expensive lately that Friday nights, we're just a ghost town right now because of Friday night football and things like that. But I'm looking forward to it picking up, and we got the remodel coming soon. So. But hopefully, if not, I'm going to have to get out in the Chucky suit and stand out at the road and wave at people or something.
I think that's that may be a good way to bring in business, Tim. You never know. But I tell you what, it's still hot during the mid-afternoon. So whoever you put in that Chucky suit, if that's you or whoever, make sure they're well hydrated because we're still hitting 96, 97 in the afternoon. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, we just want to thank you all again for joining us tonight. We're sorry we had to delay the show a week last week. Tim, you actually had some really exciting news that happened. Do you want to share that, or do you want to keep it on the down low?
No, sure. It's my son who's in the military. Those of you who have been following know he has not been home because of COVID, and we didn't get to see him graduate, a lot of things. He has not been home since last October, and he got to come home for Labor Day. So this time last week, I was headed to the DFW airport to pick him up. His plane didn't get in until midnight, and then we had to drive home about 2 in the morning. But he got to spend about 3 or 4 days with us and made a big announcement while he was here. He asked his girlfriend to marry him. So in, 3 months, we have went to all the kids moving out, and within 2 weeks' time, both of them got engaged. So, just kind of a crazy world over here.
Absolutely, and that's some exciting news, Tim. I'm glad that it sounds like you guys are going to have to be preparing for 2 weddings coming up. So, but that's always an exciting time, I know. So hopefully they can find good venues and everything like that to have their weddings at. And, it sounds like you got to spend some quality time with your son, which was really great, too.
Yeah, and me and his fiance and her family, we had a nice party for them. But I may be selling some arcade games to pay for all these weddings,
Absolutely, I know. So, well, again, guys, we want to thank y'all for joining us real quick. And I do want to go through the live chat, Tim, let you know who all is here. We've got YouTube Punk. He says, let's go. We're about there. We have Base78 says, hello, everyone. The Real Hammer Billy Lee. Hey, what's up, guys? And let's see. Josh B says, good evening. Let's see, who else we got here? Regzer Show, be safe. I was a breakthrough case. Got it bad even though I was vaccinated. And the same thing actually happened to several people we know, Tim, where people were vaccinated, still had a breakthrough case, did not have it as bad. And most everybody I know who's like that is recovered at this point, which is great. But yeah, just because you get vaccinated, it's no guarantee that you won't get it. It's just that you won't get it as bad. Something to always keep in mind. Let's see what else we got here. Danny says, good seeing you guys again. So, there you go. Haha, that's great. Let's see. Oh, Josh B says congrats to both of them, Tim. Both your kids.
Okay. Thank you.
Greg Olson says hi. And Carlos says hello. And I think we're caught up. There you go. Okay. Oh, Danny says he's getting married on October 2nd. Congratulations. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. So, Dragon Punch Dave, how's it going, everyone? Congrats to Tim's son. There you go. And your daughter.
Right.
So, there we go. So, I think we're caught up. I'm going to call that caught up. YouTube Punk says, have I lost weight? So, I lost a lot of weight when we went to the beach, Tim. And actually, I've kept most of it off at this point. But literally for a month, all I ate was like tuna packets. So, so if you do that, you will lose weight. I can guarantee you. But it is not a great way to go. I take that back. I ate more than that. But I just tried to be a little bit more smart with my eating. So like when we went to Galveston, I lost a lot of weight for that, and then just kind of kept it off. I gained a little bit back. I'm not quite as skinny as I was before we went to the beach. But you want to look good at the beach, right, Tim?
Right.
So let's see.
I've lost about 20 pounds working at Chuck E. Cheese. My wife's like, how can you lose weight and be around pizza all day? It's stress.
Well, not only that, I know I
never get a chance to eat some days.
Right. I see, like, every general manager I ever see at a Chuck E. Cheese is literally running around all the time. So I can't imagine what your step counts are right now.
No. Off the chart.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's no way. So, I mean, yeah, you can eat all the pizza you want because you're probably walking like 30,000 steps a day or whatever it is. So, but anyway, guys, we're glad that all of you are here, that you are skipping on the football game and watching us tonight, right, Tim? So, I don't know.
What football game on tonight?
Well,
I'll see you later.
Yeah, well, there goes Tim. Tonight is the opening of the NFL season. I believe it's between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Does that sound right?
Hopefully Tampa Bay is going to play the other players. I hope Tampa Bay thinks it's still a preseason game.
There you go. Yeah, they'll just keep their third strings in there. I'm good with that. I got my Cowboys cup to commemorate. Not that it means anything, because we're probably going to get stomped. So it is what it is, though. I mean, yeah. But we are glad that you are here, and we want to remind everybody that if you're watching us live, that you can interact with us in the live chat this evening. We read off pretty much everybody I think that's here right now, Tim. We may have more people joining us. I did see a message from Carlos that says he's working on a K4600 right now. Well, Good luck with that. If you need some help, let us know. We'll be happy to try to help you out with that. And I think, like I said, other than that, we're pretty caught up. So without further ado, I think we'll move on with some questions. What do you think, Tim?
Let's go.
Okay, well, the first one that we have is from Mark. So I'm going to bring it up here, Tim, and we're going to read over it. Hey guys, I was wondering if you could point me in the right direction. I recently bought 4 arcades and I'm just starting to fix them up one at a time. I have a Street Fighter 3 giant impact machine. It fires up and plays about one match and then goes black. It will keep fading back and forth. From your videos, I do recognize the neck tube lights fade off in orange. Any thoughts or suggestions on what to do? I was trying to find a technician near Pennsylvania, but I haven't had any luck. Thanks, Mark. So, Tim, we got Mark here, and he's got a Street Fighter 3 Giant Impact, which I think it's the second iteration of Street Fighter 3. So it's it fires up, it plays, and then it sounds like the screen is going black, and then it'll fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. So what do you think's going on with Mark's arcade game here?
Well, first I was stunned. I haven't seen an Impact Street Fighter 3 in a long time. I guess those were pretty common, but now you never see one. Anyway, getting on into his repair, though, it sounds like he's having an issue with a cold solder joint or of some kind, and that's what I would start off by removing the chassis, touch all the cold, cracked, and broken solder joints, and especially around the high voltage area. And of course, while you got the chassis out, you might as well go ahead and do a cap kit on it. I think that any of those colors, but the fact that it looks good sometimes and sometimes it doesn't really is an indication of a loose connection or a cold solder joint.
I'm with you, Tim, and I really think that's what's happening here. You mentioned that you hadn't heard much about Street Fighter 3, Giant Attack, Second Impact. You may be more familiar, Tim, with Third Strike. I think that's the most common iteration of Street Fighter 3 is Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. It was the last iteration of Street Fighter 3 I think that they did. And so basically this is one that just hasn't been upgraded to Third Strike. It's still on Second Impact, which is fine. And if you're a Dreamcast fan, which, Tim, the Dreamcast came out 21 years ago today, but if you're a Dreamcast fan, they actually sold a version of Street Fighter 3 that had the first Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, and then they sold Street Fighter 3 Third Strike separately and was released later. And so I'm not a huge Street Fighter 3 fan. I know people who are, but it's still a good game to play. But that is kind of beside the point, Tim. I think the advice you gave to Mark here is spot on. Probably cold solder joints. Sounds like something maybe in the high voltage section, kind of like you mentioned. And a cap kit, guys, if you're going to pull the chassis out anyway, really good time just to go ahead and install a cap kit as well. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up our little outline scene here for Mark. And it says, from your description, it sounds like you're experiencing an issue in the high voltage section of your monitor chassis. Start off this repair by removing the chassis and touching up any cold, cracked, and or broken solder joints. Pay special attention to the joints located on the high voltage line. That's very important. While you have the chassis out, like Tim mentioned, we highly recommend installing a cap kit on it. Make sure that you order one that has the filter caps with it, as it's very possible that a bad filter cap in the power supply section could be causing your issue. And see our post on installing a cap kit. Tim, did we get everything in there? Is there anything else that you have from Mark before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered most of it.
Sounds good. So, Mark, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck getting the monitor back up and running on your Street Fighter 3 Second Impact Giant Attack arcade game. Too many words, Tim. Street Fighter is always, it's like Hyper Super Turbo Championship Edition Fighting or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So,
at first I thought it was like a giant arcade game.
It could be, Tim. We don't know. It could be oversized, but obviously the name of the game has Giant Attack in it, so probably not. But anyway, Mark, hopefully answers your question. Let us know if it doesn't. So, going back to the live chat, Tim, real quick. We've got, let's see. Wasteland Warrior says, I'm here. I made it. So, he's here. We've got, let's see, Josh B says, I really like Street Fighter 3, but it's definitely something of a departure from the other installments in the series. That is correct. It's fun to play, Tim. I've played it a couple of times, but I will say I'm no good at it. I just like to play it. But if you see people in tournament settings playing Street Fighter 3, you can just tell how much time they've spent to get good at it. It's very deep, and because of that, you have to take a lot of time to really get all the mechanics of it. But it's a really good game for those people who are fighting game enthusiasts. So I'm going to drink some more out of my Dallas Cowboy cup, Tim. And I just think the more I drink out of it, the more they're going to suck. So there you go. Okay, I think we're caught up right now on the live chat, Tim. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question from Tyson. And Tyson writes, hello, I own a Smart Industries prize time claw machine. I have an issue that is commonly repaired by replacing the power supply. However, this power supply is not available to buy new or used, and finding someone to look at the power supply for repair has not been easy. I'm wondering if you could recommend a way to repair or replace this power supply. It has specific inputs on the power supply that accept wire harnesses from the actual claw machine. I am having an impossible time working this issue out, and any help would be amazing. Thanks in advance and have a great day. Love your YouTube channel, Tyson. So, Tim, we have Tyson here, and he's got a Smart Industries prize time claw machine. These are very common, right? Oh, bless you.
Yes, thank you.
So I know you've probably worked on a lot of these over the years. Now, Tyson sent a picture of what the power supply looks like. I know, Tim, you're probably familiar with it because, like I said, you've worked on a lot of these cranes in the past. But overall, I mean, what's Tyson's best options here as far as getting this either repaired or replaced or whatever?
Yeah, I can't remember all the voltage outputs, but I know what he's talking about. He wants one that'll plug and play, because it has the different connectors on the side of the power supply. In other words, it doesn't just hook up like your normal switching power supply like we're thinking about in that Street Fighter game, for instance. We do see that particular power supply is listed on Betson's website, so he might get lucky and go ahead and contact them. But, like a lot of stuff I've seen lately, it says they have it, but they don't have it, or they're no longer in stock, or whatever. They just haven't taken them off the website yet. But go ahead and try that first. That'd be the easiest plug-and-play solution. but they are quite expensive. They're about $130. So, you know, when Randy Fromm does a class, he always tells people to bring power supplies because he says virtually any power supply can be repaired. And he's correct. It's not any different than doing a cap kit, say, on a monitor. A lot of times you can go in and rebuild your own power supply. You can kind of make your own cap kit. A lot of times it's easy to tell where they went wrong. You'll have pop capacitors or blow capacitors or areas that are burned and stuff. So he may want to just try rebuilding his own. But I know that I think you'll show it on the slide. There's some Raymond from Arcade Components has a guide about how to do that. So that would be really good for him to look at and to see how to do this. I don't think it's any more difficult, or probably less difficult in my opinion, than doing a cap kit on a monitor. Definitely a lot less dangerous because you don't have the monitor to fool with. So those would be his two choices. Number one, go to Betson, and I know you'll have a link for him and stuff. And number two is if they don't have it, to just try to rebuild the one he has. And I'd be surprised if one of our affiliates somebody that does board repair wouldn't rebuild a power supply for him, maybe even Raymond if he would contact him, if he doesn't want to do it himself.
Absolutely, Tim. And yeah, we were able to look up, Tyson, for you, that it looks like Betson does have that. It says they have it in stock, but like Tim mentioned, sometimes that in stock is not really in stock, as we found out. So you definitely want to contact Betson to see if that's the case. So I am going to put up the slide here, Tim, that you referred to. So it looks like Betson does have the power supply that should work in your crane machine. The website says it's in stock, but you do need to email them just to be sure. And here's the link. And unfortunately, I didn't put these links down in the show description. I didn't have a whole lot of time for this episode to do that. But we do have it here, Tyson. So just make sure you write it down, type it into your browser. I'll try to add it to the show description after the fact. But here's where you can go to get that Betson Coastal power supply for those games. And like I said, they may have it in stock, they may not. It's kind of a hit or miss. Just contact them, ask them, and they'll let you know. Now, with that said, rebuilding a power supply is a pretty simple and inexpensive task as long as you have the time. A rebuild is a good idea in this case, as the replacement, even that replacement from Betson is $130. It's a bit more expensive than a standard switcher, right, Tim? Like a standard switcher would be about $30, correct?
Right.
So 30 versus 130, that's a lot of difference. So a rebuild may be a better way to go anyway. Our friend Raymond at arcadecomponents.com has a guide on the New Life Games forum that talks about the process if you'd like to go that route. And there's a link to that as well. Again, Tyson, I apologize for not putting these in the show notes for this episode. Got a little busy with other things. But if you take down that link and then you go to that website, you can find his guide for repairing, switching power supplies. That really will give you a pretty good idea of how to do that. And like Tim mentioned, it's not a hard process. Basically comes down to some caps, some maybe resistors or transistors, just a couple little parts that you need to replace. And once you replace those, you should be back in shape. The only thing that takes really, Tim, is time, right?
Right.
So it's going to take you a little time to do the rebuild, but once it's done, and then you've got a working power supply at that point. So there you go. Tim, do you have anything else for Tyson here before we move on?
Yeah, the one thing I didn't recommend is I'm trying to blow this up. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be, and see what voltages and the pins are. What he could do is take his wire and cut the connectors off and just wire into another power supply that has those same voltages. I know that it probably has a 24 volt line. Maybe somebody can help me that can blow that up. He could do it that way, and I would call that the kind of extreme route number 3 approach, but it is possible. And if this is not made now, it won't be made next month either, or next year, or 5 years from now. So that way he could convert it to a different power supply by just hooking up where the wire pinouts go there. You would just put some connectors on, kind of like those little hook connectors or a round connector, and screw it into a different power supply as long as the voltages and the amp rating is okay for that power supply. That might help some too. Absolutely.
And I get what you're saying there, Tim. Basically convert it to like a standard switching power supply that would be cheaper, as long as you could find enough, as long as the voltage is matched whatever power supply you're hooking up to, correct?
Yeah, even if you had to run 2 power supplies, one just for the 24 volt, if it has 24, and one for the 5 and the 12 or something like that. So it's possible.
Absolutely, and in the long run, it may be cheaper, but you really need to make sure that you find matching voltages for each of those pins on that connector to make sure that that would work. But I'm with you, Tim. That is one way to handle it. So
I would call that, like I said, extreme number 3 option. I would really make it my last option, but hey, I've done it plenty of times in the past when I couldn't get the part or something. It's not something that would be impossible or even really that hard to do.
absolutely. So Tyson, hopefully that answers your question. Like Tim mentioned, we can try to get that one from Betson. We can try to get the rebuilt power supply. We can try to rebuild our power supply using the hints that our friend Raymond Arcade Components gives on the New Life Games forum. Or, like Tim mentioned, you could try doing a conversion to more of a standard switching power supply just by wiring up the correct pins to the voltages on that. So those are kind of your 3 options. The way you decide to go is up to you. A rebuild may be kind of the nice middle ground between rewiring your cabinet and replacing it all together, or you may decide to go one of the other routes. But whichever way you decide to go, let us know, and we'll tell everybody what you decided and how it turned out. So Tyson, again, thank you for your question, and good luck getting your prize time crane back up and running. Okay, Tim, it looks like we're having a couple of problems with the stream, so for those of you guys, if we're having a little bit of quality issues, I apologize for that. It looks like everything may be synced in. We may have had just a little buffering experience there. So hopefully we'll be smooth sailing going forward in the live show, but if you are experiencing some buffering or something, it may not just be you. We may have something on our end. So just be patient with us. Hopefully it'll pick back up here in a second. Usually, sometimes we'll have listed a little down, and then it'll come back up. So thank you guys for your patience. Tim, we got a couple of questions in the live chat real quick if you want to take these.
Okay.
Carlos says, hey guys, I'm wondering if I should replace the B plus cap. There's nothing wrong with the monitor, just doing a cap kit. Tim, what would you recommend? Replace all the caps or just leave the ones that look good?
You know, I'm kind of a 50-50 here, to be honest, because if it is not broken, it looks great, you got good colors, don't fix it. But at the same time, if you're already in there and it's part of your cap kit, then why not? It'll help you hopefully last for a lot longer. So it might not be bad this year, but maybe next year. So either way, you know, it's kind of up to you. While you're in there, it's easier to go ahead and replace it. But then again, if it's working just fine, I don't do repairs just because. Sometimes, although that kind of is what we do when we do a cap kit. We're really only fixing the 1 or 2 caps that are bad. We're going ahead and replacing the others while we're there because of future that they could go bad, and hopefully we'll get another 10, 15 years out of this one. But that's just my opinion.
Absolutely, Tim. And I think something to realize is that if you do replace that cap, more than likely you will have to adjust the B plus voltage again because the value, that cap may be good, but it may still be leaking a little bit more voltage than what a new cap would be. So you may have to do an adjustment on your B plus voltage as well if you replace that cap. That's just something to keep in mind. And I think Greg actually said that same thing. Now his advice to Carlos was, I wouldn't if it was still good. They tend to still be good. And if you switch it, you'll have to adjust it, and it can be a bit of a PETA sometimes, is what he says. Yes, he's exactly correct. Now we have One Pawn Star. He says, I've got a cheap switching power supply. It has AC1 and AC2 connections. Which ones do I connect to neutral and live to? So cheap switching power supply, you got an AC1, AC2. Where do I connect the line, and where do I connect the neutral? Or the live and the neutral?
I believe the line is the 1 and the neutral is the 2. But I don't think it won't matter, really.
Yeah, and I think that's the way we typically do it, Tim. But I don't think it really matters. I think it'll work either way. So I mean, it's just kind of up to you, One Pawn Star, as to which way you want to go. But typically, we do hook the live up to 1 and the neutral up to 2. So let's see. Okay, I'm looking here. Just looking to see if we had any more questions as I'm going up here.
All right.
Patience. Okay. Okay, we have one from Kind Heart. Oh, Kind Heart says, I work at Chuck E. Cheese as a preventive maintenance tech. Do you have videos about replacing buttons? I love this sort of stuff.
You know, surely we do in one of the changing a control panel or something, for sure.
That we have one called installing a push button, I think.
Yeah.
Or replacing a push button. We definitely have that.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
We definitely do have one. What area of the country are you in? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, that's for Kind Heart. I'm curious too, so we'll find out here, Tim. Let's see. Where do you guys learn all this from? He also says that, Tim.
Many years of experience and lots of broken games.
Exactly. Exactly. I think, Tim, you say it a lot that we learned how not to do a lot of things before we learned how to do them, right?
For sure, every day, still. But yeah, if he stays at Chuck E. Cheese long enough, he'll learn pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, I assume you work for Chuck E. You know this. A preventive maintenance tech is different from your standard game tech, right?
Yes, this would be a tech in training, kind of an assistant tech. They do a lot of game PMs and cleaning and stuff, but they're in line to learn things like replacing buttons and things like that. It's a great place to start. Eventually, as he gains more skills, and if he likes it, that's a good thing, good place to start. There's a lot of jobs for techs that'll be they're open as the country opens back up and things like that. So realistically, he could watch a lot of our videos and be a tech before long at all.
Absolutely. I will say this real quick. Bay78 said he had a question about Lethal Enforcers 2, but I couldn't find it in the live chat, Bay. So if you will repost that, just let us know what it is so that way we can address it. That'd be great. Let's see. Josh B says, I'm sure you'll learn a lot in that role. Talking to Kind Heart, he says, Tim and Jonathan have been doing it for years, and I learned a lot about arcade-specific related stuff from them. I've learned more general electronics repair in the Navy, though. So yeah, I mean, Navy, they'll teach you a lot. A lot of people that we know got their start in military as far as electronics go, right, Tim?
Yes. That's what my son is in the Marines, but he's actually stationed on a naval base, and he is learning electronics. He was running fiber optic cable and crimping them and everything not too long ago, and learning to solder and everything. So a great place, military, any branch, but to be electronic technician there would be invaluable.
Absolutely. So Kind Heart says, thank you for the support. I'm working my way up, Tim. So he is working his way up. Now, YouTube Punk was wondering, is there a secret Chuck E. Cheese handshake that he needs to know?
Well, I don't know how much I can give out, how new he is. Maybe after he's been there 1 year, we can discuss.
Sounds good, Tim. So we do have another question from Sean PC1. He says he has an old pinball machine that won't boot up and allow playing. I'm thinking it's a cross chip, may have faulted out. I get lights, but nothing else. Tim, you got any ideas on this? And, old pinball machine, it sounds like if you think it's a chip, it's probably a solid state machine, right, Tim?
Yeah, probably, but if it's...
Excuse me. Yeah, solid state. I was right. Never mind.
If he needs to check his batteries, if he has batteries on his board, they definitely will probably bat if he has any.
And hopefully they're not leaking.
If it's beyond that era, if it's beyond 1980, I'm probably not the person to ask. If it's 70s or down.
Yeah, and having a title would be really helpful there, Sean PC1. So if you know what the game is, so we can get an era for it, and if you know when it was made, some of the games we'll know right offhand, but some of them we don't. There's just so many pinball machines out there, Tim. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of them all. So you give us a little bit more information, we can try to answer your question a little bit better there. Let's see. Josh B said, if I could give any advice, start with the fundamentals, learn about basic electrical theory and circuits will help a great deal before you start getting into the specifics of the machines. Absolutely. And Tim, there are a lot of different books that we recommend on our website for that. We have a whole post on the website about different books about electronic repair, and so we highly recommend you check those. And then one of the things, Tim, if you're going to do arcade machines in general, and specifically, the book by Atari is one of the greatest resources that we have, right, Tim?
I agree, and just showing up to work every day.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. Learning on the job.
If you want to learn, it's easy. Having the desire and showing up every day is the tough part. You can do that, you'll be fine.
Sounds good. Well, Tim, I think we're caught up with the live chat right now, so I'm going to go ahead and move on with our next question from Steve. And Steve says, hello, I have a Target Toss Pro that I'm trying to switch the old monitor with a new LCD. The only option I see to wire is the VGA cable. When I bench test this, I am getting no signal on the new monitor. Not sure what to do, and my internet searching has come up dry. Any help or direction would be great. Thanks, Steve in Kansas City, I assume. KC. So there you go, Tim. So we have a Target Toss Pro here, Tim, and he's trying to do a conversion from a CRT to an LCD, but he hooks up to the VGA port on the board, and he's getting nothing on his monitor. So what do you think is going on with Steve's Target Toss Pro? Why isn't he getting anything on his new LCD monitor?
Well, if the old one wasn't running a VGA, it had a CGA type monitor in it, it probably is something in his settings on his board. Probably a dip switch or something. You're going to have to tell your board, I'm now outputting VGA, not CGA. So, or medium res, whatever the game is. So I think in the slide, you can go ahead and put it up if you want, that talks about, we show in the manual where on page 5 shows the different dip switch settings. And on those dip switch settings, tell him how to make sure that you're putting out the right output. Think of it this way, guys. It's like when you hook up a TV for the first time and you have to go into the input and tell it that it's such and so much or resolution and stuff like that. You have to set it up. Once you switch out a monitor, you have to kind of go into the board and actually tell it which settings it is. And if you're not sure, we highly recommend the 640 by 480 setting and then try from there. But I mean, it's very rare, but it could be the version of the game doesn't allow this output. You might have to have a converter board, but more than likely it just needs a dip switch change. If he didn't make any change and all he did was swap the monitors, that's probably why.
Absolutely, Tim. And the Regular Show chimed in and said he has a Target Toss, and it runs from the graphics card with HDMI. So his may be a little newer than Steve's, but he says there's definitely an option for the video in the test menu. And so that's what this shows here too, Tim. And I'm going to go ahead and read the slide. It says, so the first thing you want to check is that the board is set to a compatible video output mode for your new monitor. In the manual we found online, page 5 shows the different dip switch settings for the different video output modes supported by the board. And Tim, we have a link here. Again, you'll have to copy that down, Steve, because I didn't put them down in the show notes this time. But go ahead and copy that down, go there, and you'll find the manual. Not sure which setting to, if you're not sure which setting to use, we recommend starting with the 640 by 480 VGA setting and then moving up from there. Now, it's possible that your version of this game doesn't allow you to change the output mode because, Tim, there are several different versions. And if that's the case, you may actually need that video converter board like Tim mentioned. Tim, anything else for Steve before we move on?
No, I think we've covered that one pretty good, and that's a good slide that you had up there, John. Good job.
Oh, thank you. And, you know, that, Tim, that's something to always check whenever we're switching out monitors, is to make sure that if the game does have a VGA output, that we've got the right settings in the game board to output to that VGA. Because if you don't, you're going to get a no signal or nothing on the screen, just like he's getting on his. So hopefully that helps Steve out with this question. If you have any other questions about that, Steve, let us know. We'll try to help you out some more. So. Okay, Tim, we got the Lethal Enforcers 2 question. He says, the guns on my Lethal Enforcers 2 aren't registering. I know I can use HAP replacement guns to make it work, but I'd love to fix the original guns. I'm thinking it's the photo transistor, but can't find part numbers or place to buy them. I know contrast to the monitors is important as well. Any advice is appreciated. So, Tim, the photo transistors you used to be able to get from HAP, correct?
Yeah, if HAP's not selling them, I don't know who would be these days. So check with them or even email them. They should still be carrying those parts, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
In fact, Suzo Hap used to carry an entire optical gun rebuild kit, and I don't know if they do still, Tim, but you know what I'm talking about. It came with the board, yeah. It came with a replacement circuit board, photo sensor, like basically everything you needed to get to replace in the gun to get it working again, correct?
Yeah, worst case scenario, he could buy the Hap guns and replace the guts inside and put it on his old gun, so that if he doesn't like the Hap style, you know, I don't know what his look like, but I'm sure he has the pistols more. You could do that and kind of, you know, rig it up that way if he wants that look or that outside shell to look like that.
Absolutely, Tim. I think that's a really good thought. So, Lethal Enforcers had a very specific type of gun, Tim, that a lot of people were very attached to. Of course, as operators, we were never attached to anything like that. Really, we just replace them with the HAP guns. But if you are sentimental about that, like Tim mentioned, you could just buy the HAP gun and then put the board into your old gun, and it should work that way too. But, Tim, even if you got the HAP gun, you could take the photo transistors off of the HAP gun as well, couldn't you?
Yes, you could.
So, I mean, that's another workaround. So, but contact Suzo Hap, because they used to carry those parts. Again, Suzo Hap has a minimum, Tim, of how much you have to order. I forget what their minimum is. That's one of the sides of ordering from them. But you know, sometimes if you need a part, you got to bite the bullet for that. So, anything else, Tim, on that one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so Bay, hopefully that helps you with your Lethal Enforcers 2. Let us know if you end up finding those photo transistors or where you found them so we can tell everybody else as well. On the pinball machine, Tim, it's a Williams Comet.
Okay.
So any thoughts about why? I will say this, on any electromechanical game in 70s, 80s time frame, Tim, voltages are so important. So typically what we'll do is we'll make sure that all the connectors coming from wherever the power is being distributed and going to the individual boards is correct. We will check the power at every pin. Correct, Tim?
Yeah.
And the grounding. We had a KISS. Remember that KISS pinball, Tim? We had a KISS pinball where one of the ground wires was damaged. And the only way we knew that was we were checking continuity, and we found out that one of the ground wires didn't beep, so we ended up running a jumper from another ground wire, and it got the game running. So, you know, you have to make sure that all of your grounds and all of your voltages going to each of the boards being distributed from the power supply board or power supply section inside the game. Make sure that all those voltages are correct getting to the other boards, because if it's not, you're not going to boot up. So
yeah, and check those batteries because
he said, hang on, he said the batteries have been replaced.
Okay.
So batteries have been replaced.
Yeah, well that definitely will cause some issues if the batteries are old.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, I think, like I said, that's usually where we start is we will make sure that all of the connectors are getting the correct voltages from wherever, you know, whatever they're supposed to be getting according to the manual. Comet should be able to find the manual online if you don't have one already. But I mean, the very first place we would start is making sure that the voltages are correct. It's possible that you've got some bad chips on the main board that could be causing issues as well. I mean, the board could have some issues. But power is always going to be the first place we always recommend to check. So, Sean, PC1, that's what we're going to tell you. Go through each of your connectors, wherever the power supply is being distributed to the individual boards. Make sure that you're getting power at each of those boards and that the power is correct. And then go from there. If you're not getting good power, you're not going to get startup. If you are getting good power, very possible you could have a bad processor. Other chips on the board could be an issue. And then from that point, it's just a matter of, you know, kind of going through and diagnosing. You can take logic probes, oscilloscope, kind of see if you can find any issues there. But power's always the first place we start, right, Tim?
That's it.
So there you go. Let's see. Bay, is it possible to clean gas pedal pot on a virtual racing, or should it just be replaced if it's intermittent?
You can clean it, especially if, you know, if it's got some grease or something on it that could cause that. But most of the time, it's either soldering on it, you know, or it's just bad. It wouldn't hurt to try.
Tim, is there anything that you'd recommend using to clean that with?
WD-40.
Okay. Just to see if maybe there's something, you know, just something gumming up the little knob there or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe. That'd be a stretch, though.
Of course, if he cleans it and it still doesn't work, he can always just replace it, right?
There you go. You're not really losing much.
Exactly. So there you go, Bay. Hopefully that answers your question. Tim, we got a donation from One Pawn Star.
Wow,
thank you so much for that donation. It's so appreciated. We always appreciate all the donations you guys give us for the work that we do here. And if you'd like to make a donation, you can use the little S for the Super Chat button down below and make a donation through YouTube. Or if you'd rather donate through PayPal, you can go to PayPal, or excuse me, you can go to arcaderepairtips.com/donate and donate through there as well. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you guys so much for your donations. Let's see. YouTube Punk, will the Lethal Enforcers pistols from the console game work with the arcade game? I think they're different. Yeah, I think they're different. I don't think that they're interchangeable. Now, you may be able to take the shell and put like the HAP light gun board inside the shell for the console ones and make it work, but I don't think they work natively. So, Let's see. Catching up here. YouTube Punk says detox it. Would you use detox it on the potentiometer, maybe?
Yeah.
Or dioxit. Excuse me, dioxit. So.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, Sean PC says his pinball machine runs on one CMOS chip. I will check power, and then if it doesn't, I'll order another chip. Yeah, and like I said, if there's any common chips on the board that look like, I mean, socketed chips are a great place to start, Tim, because typically when a manufacturer sockets a chip, it's because it's probably going to go bad at some point. So if you have any socketed chips on a board, it's a good place to start. So, are we caught up? I think we're caught up, Tim. So we're going to go ahead and move on with the rest of our outline here. And the next one we have is from Brian. And he says, when I boot my arcade machine, it sometimes has a heavy red, green, or blue color tint. It wears off after a while, but can reoccur during play or even just idling. Now, percussive maintenance, Tim, I love the term percussive maintenance, which he says is smacking the side of the machine can make it come instantly back to the proper balance of color, but I'm looking for a fix. Is there something obvious that comes to mind for a repair on this? And Tim, whenever I hear percussive maintenance, it makes me think of your story of the skee ball lane and the dance.
Yes.
So, and maybe you should tell that again, just because we have some new people here that may not have heard that story, Tim. Give us the quick gist of the skee ball and the dance, especially for Kindheart, Tim, who's a preventive maintenance CEC guy.
Yeah, there used to be a skee ball lane at a Chuck E. Cheese, not mine, but another one. And every time that it wasn't working, they would holler at the tech, and he would hop up on top of it and kind of stomp around a little bit, and it would start working. And anyway, so we used to laugh, and finally we found the broken wire or the loose wire, and we repaired it. But we're like, every weekend, are you guys going to call him in here so he can dance so that you don't have it down or what? So, yeah, we don't want to be smacking the sides of the games. Jonathan, I laughed. I think you called this episode Target and something I forget.
Target, Signals, and Smart Power.
Yes, and I was thinking Percussion Maintenance would have been another good title.
Percussive Maintenance.
Because I've definitely done some of that. But really what's happening, and it's kind of like a similar question we had earlier, where when you hit the side of the cabinet or you shake it, it works, or sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so the monitor issues like this are usually where we're talking about those bad solder joints or bad connection somewhere. And so I would check by all the input wires when they run in. I would go ahead and reconnect them. I would make sure that they're good and tight and that the wiring is good. Then I would reflow the solder on those input pins. It's very common for them to crack and stuff over time and everything. So that's where I would start with this one too. But yeah, don't jump. If you got to jump up on the game or beat it to get it going, it's time to do the repair and not take it out all your anger issues on the game.
Absolutely, Tim. We don't want to be taking out anger issues on a game if we don't have to. You can take it out on other things. Although most of us who played video games when we were kids probably took it out on a controller at one time or another. So, yeah, I think we all have. So, but not on arcade games, Tim. We like them too much. So, like Tim mentioned here, Brian, monitor color issues like this are usually due to either loose wiring, bad solder connections, or an issue with the color functions, the adjustments, drive transistors, etc. So start off this repair by checking the input wires that run from your main board to your monitor chassis. Make sure that they are not damaged. Also, make sure to check the solder on those input pins. Like Tim mentioned, over time, you're going to disconnect, reconnect those input pins. And as you do that, those pins will shift and move, and the solder may crack on them. So make sure you check that. It is very common for those joints to break over time. And then inspect the rest of the solder joints on the chassis as well, especially on the neck board, Tim. As we know, the drive transistors are typically on the neck board. There's also drive transistors on the main chassis, depending on what model chassis you have. So you can see our video on checking a monitor tube for more information on that, Tim. And Tim, I actually performed something very similar to this, not on an arcade game recently. I have a Chevrolet Tahoe, and the auxiliary jack on it was very spotty. You would move it a little bit and it would stop working. and it got so bad that basically it only worked about 20% of the time. So I literally took the entire thing apart, and there were 4 little solder joints that were all cracked up in there. Solder, back up and running, no problems. So, I mean, and I was reading online, and people, like one guy was like, I use a credit card between these joints to make sure that the solder doesn't touch the pins. But Tim, these solder joints are no problem for me. I guess I've got that much practice. So it just depends on how much practice you have soldering, I guess. But cracked solder joints can happen on anything, guys. That's an auxiliary port on a car stereo. They can definitely happen on your arcade game that's 30 years old. That car ain't 30 years old, Tim. Just to give you an idea. So cracked solder joints are very common, especially in things that you plug in and unplug all the time. So anything else for Brian here, Tim, before we move on?
No, I don't think so.
Sounds good. So Brian hopefully answers your question, and let us know how it goes with the repair on your arcade monitor. Okay, Tim, live chat looks like it's caught up, so we're going to go ahead and move to Warrior Frenzy. And he says, I am working on a Pac-Man from the 1980s. I can't find the dip switches everyone's talking about. I can get to test mode, but it just doesn't sound. I want to get it out of free play to use quarters. So, Tim, we have Warrior Frenzy here. He's got a Pac-Man from the 80s. And he can't find the dip switches. And so he wants to get it out of free play mode. What can he do to get out of free play mode? Where are those dip switches located, Tim?
Well, you're going to like this one, John. I just so happen to be working on a Miss Pac-Man.
Hey, look at this! Oh, I love it.
Here is our edge connector up here where it plugs in, and right here is the dip.
Okay, you're gonna have to lift it up in front of your face for them to see it, Tim, because you're being blocked by the thing. So over your face, yeah. I was about to say. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we can see it now.
Right there.
Yeah, we got you. So
the edge connector, big capacitor right here, dip switches.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's where the dip switches are on most boards. Now, having said that, I guess there could be a bootleg board or something out there, but maybe he's just just overlooking them. If his is not there, he must have some kind of bootleg type board, and they may be on board or who knows where. But that's where they commonly are found on there. And to get it out of free play mode, you're going to need to take 1 and 2 to the coin settings that you want to use, and he can look that up in his monitor. It sounds like he knows what to do. He's just looking at where to go to do it, and I know you can bring up the slide, John. Maybe that will help also, but there's a big capacitor on there right above those dip switches, and hopefully that's easy to find now.
Yeah, and Tim, I've got a better up-close version of that that he can probably see here on the slide. And it's in the exact place where Tim was saying, right below that capacitor. So, and I kind of describe it here in case you're listening to this on the audio version. You can't see the pictures that we're showing here. But the dip switches on a Pac-Man style board are usually located in the upper right-hand corner if you have the board oriented with the edge connector at the top, like Tim was showing you. This location can vary based on the version of the board you have installed, or if it's a bootleg/unauthorized version. Tim, bootlegs may have those dip switches in different places. That's something to think about. But for the most part, if you've got an original Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man board, it's going to be right where Tim said it would be. In order to get it out of free play mode, you will need to modify dip switches 1 and 2 on this bank to the coin settings that you want to use. You can also modify the other settings of the game here as well. You can find all the dip switch settings for Pac-Man at the URL that we have listed there, Tim, if you want to copy that down, Warrior Frenzy, and then you can change it to whatever you want. So I think the limit is 50 cents a play, right, Tim?
Yeah.
There are 2 coins per play. I think that's the highest you can go. You can't charge $1 for it unless you do some sort of mod or something like that to it. But by default, I think the most it'll do is 2, like I said, 2 coins at a time. So, but there you go. Pretty simple, but at the same time, Tim, a lot of people do have problems finding those dip switches, and they're kind of hiding in plain sight, if you will, a lot of times. So, hopefully, Warrior Frenzy, that answers your question. Good luck getting that Pac-Man out of free play, and hopefully you make a lot of money with that thing taking coins, right?
Correct.
Absolutely. So, okay, I think we're caught up on the live chat still, Tim. So we'll continue on here, and we're moving on to some questions from YouTube. And Tim, I'll have to confess, these didn't all come from YouTube. So maybe a better way to say this would be rapid fire questions. How about that?
Okay.
So, and we just got a donation from Josh for $5, Tim. Thank you, Josh. You're awesome. So we appreciate your donations as always. Thank you so much for that. And, it's a good way to let us know that you appreciate us, and so we thank you for that. That's really great stuff, Josh. Thank you so much. Hopefully you've gotten a lot from the show tonight. If not, at least we kept you entertained, right, Tim?
Yeah.
So there you go. But with all that said, let's go ahead and move to our rapid fire questions, Tim. So we have 3 tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and bring them up on the screen. Giggity Wing says, "Hi, I just got an old cabinet and it has no sound. The guy I bought it from said he turned it down years ago, but can't remember which knob it is." So we have Giggity Wing with a game where he needs to know how to turn up the sound. We have Philippe, who's looking for a flyback transformer for a MacVision M3129DS. And then we have Rexer Show, who's in the live chat with us tonight. And he's saying, is it okay to use like smart outlets, like Alexa or Google? Sorry, guys, I activated all of your smart devices. Or Google Assistant or whatever. Outlets with your arcades to turn them on and off with a smartphone app. So, Tim, let's take these one at a time, rapid fire. So, Giggity Wing, old cabinet, can't figure out how to turn it up. What can he do, Tim?
Well, we don't know what kind of game it is. That would help us a little bit. But a lot of old games, the sound is on the board. And so maybe he can look on the board. It could be a knob right inside where behind the coin door, or it could be in the settings. Basically, we really need to know what game to go a little bit further with that, but probably one of those 3 things.
Okay, and then the next one is Philippe looking for a flyback replacement for a MacVision M3129 monitor, Tim.
Arcade Shop shows that they have those, and he can get those from them.
Sounds good. And then Rexer Show, using smart outlets on arcade games, yes or no?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, especially with times changing. I would say yes, as long as it doesn't go over the watt or amp rating set by the manufacturer. You should be good. I'm not sure. I haven't done that yet. Would really like to know how that works out, so I would love to hear back from him if he hasn't done it already. I think it should be fine, though, especially not to overload too many games on one circuit. Maybe just one game or so. Should really try that.
Absolutely, Tim. Well, I think you answered everything, so I'll go ahead and throw it up here on the screen. Giggity Wing, the volume control is usually found on the main game board. Now, Tim, you'll like this because the picture I have here is another Pac-Man board, right, that shows the volume on it. So, and it's right next to the dip switches, which we just talked about. But some will have the volume on the main game board. Sometimes there's a knob inside the coin door to turn it up. Sometimes you got to get into the test mode to adjust it, Tim. For those people who are familiar with the 60-in-1 boards, we know that the 60-in-1 boards have a volume control in the test menu. So it just really depends on what style cabinet or game that you have. If you get that information back to us, Giggity Wing, we can help you out more with that. But those are 3 places that you can check to see if you can find the volume adjustment for your game. Now, like Tim mentioned, Philippe, Arcade Shop has the M3129 replacement flyback. This should work with your chassis, but contact them before you order just to be on the safe side. And Tim, we have the URL there. Now, something some people may not be aware of is that some of the M3129s have 2 knobs on the flyback for focus, and some of them only have 1. If you have one that has 2 of them, I think you can replace it with a single adjustment. The only thing is, Tim, like one is a fine focus adjustment and one is a regular focus adjustment. So if you have a 2 now and you replace it with a 1, you'll lose the fine adjustment. But I don't think it makes a big difference in the grand scheme of things. I think it still works. And so, but I'm saying that from memory, so you should definitely ask Arcade Shop if that's the case. They would know for sure. Ask them if their flyback replacement will work with the 2-pot flyback that you may have in your cabinet there, Philippe. And then Rexer Show, like you mentioned, Tim, using smart outlets should be fine as long as you don't exceed the wattage or amperage rating set by the manufacturer on the outlet. You should be good. Tim, I would probably say be careful with doing like the smart strips that have like multiple outlets that you can control, because you may go over your amperage or wattage. If you're doing 1-to-1 though, you should be fine. And some of the strips may be fine too. You just need to, again, don't exceed the wattage or amperage rating by the manufacturer. That's the key. So, okay, Tim, is there anything else on any of these 3 that you want to address before we move on?
No, since Rexer's here, I would really like to hear, has he done it yet? And what his experience has been. He's going to, if he hasn't yet, then report back to us next month.
Sounds good, Tim. Yeah, and hopefully he'll chime in here in a second. We'll find out. But I've seen in forums on KLOV and stuff like that, people doing this, and it works fine. They haven't had any problems, and I think it's going to work fine. But you just always want to be careful about exceeding whatever the rating is for it. So, Tim, we have one question in the live chat real quick from VRaven1997. It looks like my Mortal Kombat 1 has been playing random audio sounds from random characters during fights. Is this a common problem for most games? This is common on Mortal Kombat Midway cabinets, and if you're getting this, what you want to do is you may want to replace your battery on the board, Tim. That makes a lot of difference. There's also a cable that runs from your soundboard to your main board, maybe having issues as well. It's also possible that you could have some corruption in the sound chips on the Mortal Kombat 2 board that you have, and so you may have to get those reburned. But Tim, a lot of times I've found where it's just, you can just replace that battery and it'll get back to working. So. Have you experienced any of that, Tim?
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm answering a question from work.
Oh, okay.
I had to take a 2-minute break. But yes, it definitely is a common problem, and the rebuilding the amp section will fix it.
Yeah, I was going to say you can do that, or just try to replace the battery first. That's kind of my first line, and see if that fixes it, because to be honest with you, I've seen that fix it a lot. And then if that doesn't work, then you may have to look at the ribbon cable going from the main board to the audio board, or look at the chips on the audio board. You may have some corruption there as well. But those are the things that we've seen with Mortal Kombat 1, and sound problems in particular. Regular show, I have done it 3. I have it on 3, no problems yet. Retro Ralph has 20 arcades on Smart Power, but I didn't trust his advice. Everybody's a little bit different when it comes to that. Like I said, I'm probably not going to go that route just because I don't mind turning them on all the time. I mean, that's not a big thing for me. But I don't think there's any harm in it. I mean, I think it'll work fine, like I said. Just be careful. Make sure you follow the manufacturer rating on it.
Okay.
Okay, Tim, are you ready for the tech tip?
I am ready.
Okay, I'll go ahead and bring up the slide and let you talk.
All right. This tech tip is brought to us by Greg at Legacy Entertainment. If you see the slide now, you see that use a 35-volt, 100 microfarad cap on the power switch header, pins on a PC motherboard to automatically turn it on. And this is a big deal on certain games. The pigtails are a big time saver. It's a 35-volt, 100 microfarad cap with a single edge connector pin soldered on. It's great for troublesome game computers that go into shutdown protect mode. It also works for a dead battery that causes the power on to default to off. Basically, a cap is dead shorted with no charge, then opens up when charged. It acts the same as pressing the power button on the computer without actually pressing it. Use a meter to see which pin on the power switch header is ground and put the connector on that pin. So I just read that word for word, but I think everybody kind of understands what it does. Kind of one of those tips is not for everybody, but this is very important to somebody. Somebody needs to hear this one, and this one is for you, John.
There you go. So, Tim, basically what happens here is if you hook this thing up, it acts as the power button, right?
Right.
So, now, something I think people need to keep in mind is this can also work on TVs. So, let's say you're putting a TV into an arcade cabinet, but you have to press the power button every time in order to power on the TV. If you replace the power button on the TV with this 35-volt, 100 microfarad cap, then it will actually cause the TV to come on when it gets power, correct?
Right. And that's one of the things why we don't recommend just going to Walmart or Best Buy and buying an LCD and putting it in a game, because it's hard to turn it on once it's mounted up inside of a game. A lot of times it has a remote control, or you have to hit a power button. That's almost impossible to do once you get and that would solve this, although we do still highly recommend that you get one that's not in a case for heat purposes and one that's actually made for arcade games. But this may be a fix around for some of you that are doing it the other way.
And Tim, I think we've seen this a lot, and some of the people in the chat room are probably seeing this too, where we've got an arcade game that's powered by a computer and then all of a sudden it stops coming on, right?
Right.
And that's a lot of times because they set it in the CMOS or the BIOS, they set the BIOS settings to where it would come on power on, but when the battery dies, all of a sudden it loses that setting and it stops coming on, right?
Exactly.
So this is a workaround, correct?
Yes, I work around.
So there you go. So instead of setting the BIOS to automatic, like we're having some connection issues real quick with the stream. So we're gonna hold up for just a second here, guys. If you guys have lost part of the stream, we're kind of doing some catch up. So you may be buffering for a second. We're gonna take a second here to see if we get everybody caught back up, and it looks like we have. So sorry about that if you experienced any kind of buffering there. We had a little issue with the connection, but. Basically, we'll sum it up. Basically you can use this to jumper the power switch so that you don't have to worry about setting BIOS settings to turn on the computer or rigging up the power switch in some way for it to come on. So great tech tip, Tim. Thank you for that. That's good stuff. So, and it looks like we're back up. Everybody says we're back up, Tim. So we had a little hiccup there. I don't know what's going on with the internet today. Usually we're pretty reliable, but I think maybe everybody's streaming the NFL game tonight. So.
Maybe so.
There you go. So, Tim, let's go ahead and go to all the news that we had since the previous show, Tim. And the very first thing we had was this story about an Atari prototype, Tim. And I don't know if you saw this, but this came from Ars Technica, and it's Atari's collapse cost us this exquisite-looking Laserdisc game. When the early 80s home video game business began dwindling in the US, Atari looked to Laserdisc arcade cabinets to boost its fortunes. That's according to Richard Taylor, who served as the film's director for Atari Playland, an unreleased arcade cabinet from classic Atari's waning days. The game was going to use Laserdisc technology, with videos being filmed with a real camera floating above elaborate miniatures on sizable sets. I don't know, Tim, if you saw any of the other pictures from this article, but it actually had Richard Taylor standing over some of the miniature sets, which I thought was pretty cool looking. But they actually took cameras into these little miniature sets to create like these little video game looking worlds. Pretty cool stuff.
Neat.
And Laserdisc games were a big novelty in the early 80s, right, Tim?
Yeah, I can remember when they first come out, it kind of really checked 50 cents. I didn't mind paying 50 cents for those games.
Absolutely. So it doesn't surprise me one bit that Atari was looking to release some Laserdisc games because, I mean, it just was the thing to do. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see what this game became, but, there's some footage here that Richard Taylor shared that's pretty awesome, and you should definitely check out the article if you haven't already. Good stuff. And then, Tim, this was probably the biggest story of the month. Game over for Deeproot Pinball, Tim. It could be game over for Deeproot Pinball after the company's founder, Robert Mueller, was charged by the Security and Exchange Commission with fraud in relation to the two investment schemes which funded the company. Robert had previously claimed that he was funding Deeproot Pinball with his own money. If the SEC's claims are to be believed, he had a pretty relaxed attitude to what money was his to spend. So Tim, there you go. Did you read this story at all?
I have not had a chance to read it. It's kind of like Bernie Madoff of arcade
right,
games.
so they were going to release the Zombie Apocalypse pinball machine. I can't even... Retro Zombie something attack, whatever it was. They had been working on this, and they went to debut it, and like everybody thought it was terrible. So like they held back the reveal for a while and all this kind of stuff. And now, come to find out, all of the money was basically like a Bernie Madoff scheme, Tim. So unfortunately, all of the investors are probably going to get screwed on this one. But it's just sad because I mean we want every pinball company to succeed, right, Tim?
Right.
We want every pinball company to be like a Jersey Jack or like a Chicago Gaming or a Stern Pinball or all the rest of them that are out there. I mean, golly, Multimorphic, another one, Tim. But I mean, there are several stories that have happened, just over the years that people getting swindled out of money for pinball machines, right?
That's true.
So unfortunately, this is another. It looks like another one of those stories, and we'll keep you posted and updated as things kind of progress in that case. I'm kind of curious, what's going to happen with all of that. So we'll keep you posted as we find out more on that story. And then, Tim, more pinball news. We talked that the Southern Fried Gaming Expo took place in Atlanta, Tim, and so the Chicago Gaming guys were there, and they actually revealed that they're working on a remake of Cactus Canyon, which was a popular Bally title, and that there's going to be new features in this version, Tim, including HD animations, larger displays, interactive toppers, enhanced playfield toys. and RGB lighting effects. Chicago Gaming has been working with some of the original Bally Williams design team, Tim, to make it more like the game they initially wanted it to be. Because, Tim, this is one of the last games that Bally kind of shipped out the door, and so they did not get to implement everything they wanted to on it. And so it sounds like thanks to the remake that the designers may be able to get it closer to the vision that they initially had for the game. Tim, have you played Cactus Canyon? What do you think of it?
Oh yeah, it's a fun game. I like it.
I like it too. It's actually very fun, and I'm glad to see that they're remaking it. I think this will be popular. Tim, you know right now that they go for really crazy prices on the different pinball sites, and so the remake hopefully will give people a chance that haven't had an opportunity to play it or have wanted to own one, couldn't afford it, an opportunity to do so. So I look forward to playing it once it's released, and again, I love the fact that Chicago Gaming is putting forth the effort to remake some of these titles that we really enjoy. So.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and let's see what else we have here, Tim. Oh, this one probably got the most feedback of all of the stories that we had over the past month, Tim, and that is another instance of arcade one-up cabinets being used in a commercial environment. And Tim, we found another instance of arcade one-up cabinets being used in a commercial environment, and it looks like it's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, Tim, that we discussed previously. I think that one was out of Mr. Gaddy's in Kentucky, right?
Yes.
So these have been outfitted with the card readers like that unit was that allow for a pay-per-play support. The Arcade 1-Up manual does not state that their cabinets, or does state that their cabinets are for personal use only, but that hasn't stopped some operators from using them in their route operations. We were able to identify this establishment, but have chosen not to reveal their location at this time. Tim, we do know where this is. I did my research, and we know where it is, but we don't want people going to their website and just totally, decimating them with comments and things. So we're not going to reveal that. But Tim, this arcade took it a step further than the Mr. Gaddy's that we saw. The Mr. Gaddy's basically only had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This one has all of their games were outfitted with this. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely, it was not made for commercial use. I'm of the opinion that I would worry about them more holding up, that kids are going to break them, because they're just not very well made for that purpose. So that would be my concern. Legality-wise, I don't know. It's kind of a thin line. They are charging you to play it, but they do own the machine. So it's a really thin line right there. I do believe that I definitely would not do it personally. But more for the above, for the first reason that they just wouldn't hold up.
Absolutely, Tim. And, I think that the fact that they state that they're for personal use only in the manual, to me means that using them in a commercial environment is a no-no. But the only way to know that would be, to bring it up in court and to see if there is anything that would prevent that. I'm with you, Tim, though. Just don't think it's going to hold up in standard environment. But here's the thing, Tim. You can just go buy another one if it breaks. What does a Miss Pac Galaga combo cost? Like $2,500 or something like that? $3,000? I don't know. For that price, you could buy 10 of those Pac-Man cabinets or more.
That's a good point.
So do you really care if it holds up? I don't know. The card readers are probably worth almost as much as some of those games, so depending on how much they paid for them. But it is what it is. So but it got a lot of comments, obviously, Tim, on the Facebook and Twitter when we posted it, and Chaz's Arcade alerted us to that, so thank you, Chaz's Arcade, for that. But guys, they're not made for commercial environments. They just aren't. You can outfit them with better controls, you can do some things to make them last, but they were not intended to be in that environment, right, Tim?
Right.
So there you go. And then, Tim, the last thing I have here on our list of discussion and news is that the designer of the NES and the Super NES retires from Nintendo after nearly 40 years. You may not know the name Lance Barr, but you know his work. He's the guy who famously designed the NES and the Super NES consoles for the North American market, along with several NES accessories, and most recently, the Wii Nunchuck. Barr helped shape Nintendo's overall hardware design language, simple, sturdy, and instantly recognizable. Barr has announced his retirement from Nintendo after almost 39 years. Tim, wow. To work for Nintendo for 39 years, imagine what he has seen in his time there. It's just amazing to me. But we want to wish Mr. Barr a happy retirement, and thank you for all of the wonderful designs that you've come up with over the years, Tim. I mean, without his design on the NES, who knows if it would have been as popular as it became. So, I mean, really good stuff. Thank you, Mr. Barr, for everything that you've done, and have a happy retirement. And with that, Tim, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So I'm going to throw this up here real quick, and this is just a reminder that we want your arcade-related videos. If you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Please send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure to put a plug-in for your channel so people will know where to find you, and we always look forward to seeing your submissions. Tim, of course, we started this because we wanted to help people who were having trouble getting monetized reach the threshold to be monetized. So if you're, especially if you're on that threshold of almost being monetized, then we want to get you all the way up to being monetized. So let's help you out. Send in one of your videos and we'll promote it on our website and try to help you out. And then, Tim, we have all of our contact information. We have our general email address at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com if you want to email us. If you put live show in the subject, we will try to get it mentioned on the next show. Again, that's questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Otherwise, we will try to answer it as we get them. And again, guys, pictures, if you're going to send pictures, send them to questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you're going to send videos, upload your video to YouTube and send us a link. That's the best way to do it. So, again, guys, email address questions@arcaderepairtips.com. And then we have our YouTube page, Tim. Of course, everybody in the live chat knows where our YouTube page is, but if you're listening to this on the podcast feed, audio-wise, you may not. But that's at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com, and comments from the last live show will be covered on the next episode. Now, Tim, another thing is if you are listening to the audio version of this, you do need to go to the YouTube page to hear the after show, which we usually record right after this. So in the after show, Tim, for those people who don't know, it's an anything goes, any topic can be discussed there, but we do also answer arcade repair questions there as well. So if you want a little bit more of Tim and Jonathan discussing stuff, make sure that you check out the YouTube feed at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com for the episode that you're listening to, and you'll get that after show content. And then, Tim, we have our podcast email at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. I do believe that Eric and Rusty are still checking that, even though we haven't had an episode from them for a while. Tim, you know, arcades are still struggling, especially with the increase in COVID numbers right now. So I know that they're busy trying to tend to their arcade. And so I don't know if we're going to see a new question and answer podcast from them anytime soon, but we want to continue to just show our support to them. The Game Preserve down in Houston, if you're anywhere near there, make sure you stop by and say hi to Eric and Rusty. And then we have our iTunes page at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com. You can leave your reviews there, Tim. And if you like it, we would encourage you to leave a review there, 5 stars. And if you don't like our podcast, send us an email instead and let us know what you don't like so that way we can address it. But that's at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com, itunes.arcaderepairtips.com if you have an iOS device. Or Stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com if you'd rather use Stitcher, Stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, our podcast can be found wherever fine podcasts are aggregated. So that's Spotify, that's Amazon Music, that's, Pandora, iHeartRadio, whatever platform that you use to listen to your podcast. Or if you're like me, Pocket Cast, Tim, is my preferred podcast feeder. But whatever you use, search for Arcade Repair, subscribe, and make sure you listen there for all the new episodes. Tim, quick reveal real quick. I'm going to move away from the contact information. I already have an interviews podcast recorded. So that means we'll probably be releasing it next week or the week after. I'm not going to say who it's with. You'll just have to stay tuned to your podcast feed and see. But I thought it went really well. It's about it's an interview with somebody who recently wrote an article about something that we posted, and I think you'll find that information very interesting. So, and I want to thank them for coming on the show and doing the interview with me and everything. It went really well, but I'm going to keep that a secret until it actually goes live, and then we'll post it on our social media pages. So make sure you stay tuned for that mid-month, guys. New episode of the Interviews podcast coming up. And of course, if you want to find out when that drops, you can subscribe on a podcast feed, but you can also check our social media feeds, our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. or our Twitter feed at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, news gets shared both ways. So, things that get posted on Facebook move to Twitter, and things that get moved to Twitter get posted on Facebook. So you can subscribe to one or the other. You don't necessarily have to do both, but that's up to you. Again, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com and twitter.arcaderepairtips.com if you want to subscribe on the respective feeds. And we want to thank Mark so much for posting a lot of stuff there as well, all of his pinball news, Tim, that he likes to do. Mark does a really good job of keeping all of us posted on all of that information. And so thank you, Mark, for community managing as you do here at Arcade Repair Tips. But again, guys, make sure that you subscribe to our feed so you know when the next live show is going to be, when the next interviews podcast is going to drop, and any other arcade repair related news that we may find on the internet. Okay, Tim, I think that about does it for this episode. We got the after show coming up. And Tim, what time does the NFL game start tonight? I don't know.
7:20 our time, so we got about 30 minutes.
Hey, we still have people. Well, I was about to say, we still have time before you guys switch over to the football game. Okay, so in the after show, we're going to talk about a show that me and Tim have both been watching that we just found out we were both watching. And here's a hint, it's on Paramount Plus. So that's all we're going to give you there. If you want to find out what it is, you'll have to tune into the after show. We're going to talk about what we did on Labor Day, how our August went, talk some investment talk like we normally do, sports talk, cord cutting talk, the normal stuff that we do here. Tim, I've been watching a lot of stuff, including a ton of movies over the last month, so I will talk about all the movies I've been watching, some of the ones you may want to watch, and then, of course, we'll answer any arcade repair-related questions that you may have that didn't make it into the regular show. So stay tuned if you're watching live with us for that, or if you're watching after the fact. If you're watching the recording of this, we'll be right up in about 5 minutes or so with the after show as well. Or if you're listening on the podcast feed, go to our YouTube page and check it out. Tim, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap it up here on the regular show?
Well, thank you guys for watching, and especially for the donations, and we'll see you guys in the after show in just a few minutes.
Absolutely. Or we'll see you next month for the October, Tim, October live show. Golly, 2021 is coming to an end quickly, isn't it?
It's crazy. 2020 was 5 years long.
Yeah, I know. Golly, it certainly seemed like it was. Josh B says, sweet, been waiting for another interview podcast. Good night, all. Great show as always. Thank you, Josh, for being here. Let's see. Everybody else, good night. Thanks for being here. Live chat was great tonight, Tim. We always enjoy being with you guys. It's always fun getting y'all's input, answering y'all's questions, doing the back and forth. Always a great time. And again, thank you guys for joining us for this month. See you in the after show. If not, we'll see you in October. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game,
you play the game.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we're back. So welcome to the after show for episode 55. Tim, how did it go for you?
I think so. I think it was a pretty good show. It seemed like it went kind of quick, but the questions were good, and we had some good chat going on. Sounded like sorry I wasn't there where I couldn't see it, guys. You know, when I'm here, I don't see the chat room and stuff. But I thank you for participating and being there and for sticking around.
Absolutely, Tim. And of course, we had the football game tonight that we already talked about. Labor Day, Tim, how did it go for you? I was curious. We basically just stayed home. I mean, we didn't go anywhere.
The Sunday before, we had the party for Landon and turned into an engagement party. So the next day was Labor Day at work, and we were, I would say, steadily busy, but not busy. And I had plenty of staff there, probably too many people. And so that all went pretty well. And it was kind of a fast day. I labored on Labor Day as usual. But it was a good day.
That's good. And I mean, overall, obviously you had your son come in and all the engagement stuff. Is there anything else that happened in August that you forgot to tell us about?
Gosh, I don't know. I had 2 engagements, so 2 engagement parties. It was just kind of a busy month for us. Seemed to fly by really fast. Didn't really have much time off. One of my managers, as you know, had COVID. So, and then I had one in training. So 1 week I was the only manager there. And I did get a couple help from a couple of stores just to have one day off. But that's kind of the way it's been ever since I went to Chuck E. Cheese. You know, I really have put in a lot of hours, a lot of time. This week, not as much. I've actually had both managers back. I was able to work just a half a day today. Even though I was off yesterday, today would normally be my day off. I had to work half a day, but half a day is better than all day, or open to close like I was a couple of weeks ago. So the whole month, I was just kind of glad to see go.
Absolutely. I'm with you there, Tim. And I think with the starting of school around here, that's really helped probably get things a little bit less busy for you. Hopefully helped you catch up on some stuff that need to be caught up on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're, at our house, we're knee deep in the school shuffle. So getting kids to school, places they're supposed to be, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what always comes with August. But Tim, that also means kids have been going to bed earlier, which means I've been watching more stuff, is what ends up happening. Yeah. So that's why I've been watching so much, is because we put the kids bed a little bit earlier. I still end up staying up the same time I normally would and end up watching a lot of stuff. So, but we'll talk about that here in a second. First, Tim, what about any investments? Have you made any over the last month or so?
You know, everything has been so crazy. I've made a little bit. I'm still holding my AMC, which is, if it goes to 100, that's my early retirement. But it's still about $47 right now, which is not bad, and a lot more than I got in on. So I'm holding on to that. Our Cron stock is down to about $6.50. I think it ever hits 10 or 11 again, I'm going to sell it this time. But it's never really taken off. A lot of uncertainty in the market, and with the things that happen in Afghanistan, I think investors are shy right now, and that's me. I've got some ETFs and stuff I'm not touching. Other than that, I've been a little gun shy lately.
Me too, Tim, and I really haven't invested in anything, and it's like you said, the market's really tough right now. And Tim, we may be heading to a crash. I mean, you hear a lot of people talking about that, and so if that's the case, you probably want to have your money in safer investments. And like Tim mentioned, ETFs, stuff that's highly diversified, so that way you have kind of a cushion against some of the impending downturn that we're going to have. So, and again, we're not analysts. I mean, no real advice here or anything like that. But it just seems, Tim, like the market may be heading in a downward fashion.
It seems that way.
So, I mean, just looking at it. So yeah, we haven't really been investing lately, it sounds like, guys. But, there's always opportunities to make money if you're out there. Tim, though, I did see the GameStop, I think, was down 7 or 8% today.
Yeah, it's way overpriced as it is anyway, so it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But AMC did make a big announcement today, John. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
AMC is going to do something that you never see. they are going to spend several $20-something million, I think, on TV advertisement. You never see movies hardly advertising on TV, but Nicole Kidman they signed as a spokesperson for them, and so thus a little bit of activity on AMC today, but not. It still didn't go off. Still going to work tomorrow.
So Nicole Kidman, are they going to have her running in slow motion away from something? Because that seems to be what she does in every movie. I don't know if you ever or every TV show she's in. I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
Well, be on TV, so she won't be naked.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that in particular. I'm just saying, like, did you?
She likes to show off her rear.
Oh, I did not realize that part. So,
yeah.
What was the one that she did with the limited series she did on HBO with Hugh Grant? She's like running slowly away from like a helicopter or something. Apparently, people have discovered on the internet that she has a lot of shots with her slowly running away from things. So
okay.
There you go. So we'll see what happens in the AMC ads, though. That'll be very interesting. I did not hear that, Tim. So
yeah, that was new today.
Kind of pivoting talk here, Tim. We already talked a little bit about sports. Obviously, the NFL kicking off tonight, but college football kicked off last Saturday. Did you watch any of the games, Tim?
I watched just a little bit. Of course, I was working. Caught some of the Oklahoma game, and I did watch Jackson State on Sunday night. Deion Sanders' debut as a coach and his son as a player. Watched some of that.
Okay, I did not watch much of it. I just, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to watch much of the game tonight. I don't know. Like, my love for professional sports, just for some reason, I think COVID really killed it for me. Just like when we had that time with no crowds and all the weirdness going on and everything. I don't know what it is. I just got out of the habit of watching, and it's like I'll probably watch part of the game tonight, but I'm just not as excited about it. I still watch baseball, but even baseball's I'm not watching as much as I usually do, and that's saying something because I'm a huge baseball fan. So I don't know if it's just sports in general, or if it's just the fact that we have so much TV to watch now that sports are kind of getting lost in the mix.
Maybe you're right. I think I have switched my priorities over. Like you said, one of the shows that we're going to talk about has really got me watching it. I'll probably watch some of it tonight. I'll probably watch some of the football game too, though.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'll probably watch a little bit of the MLB postseason because I love postseason baseball. It's one of my favorite things to watch. And I'll probably catch some NFL games here and there. But it's just not, I don't know. It's just, I'm not as dedicated to it as I have been in the past. And maybe that's just because television as a whole seems to be really great right now. And when I say television, I mean streaming services and television in general. There's so much to watch that's like, man,
Some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much you can watch right now. It's amazing. We'll talk about that here in a sec.
So who's your prediction? Who do you think will win the World Series then? Who's the best, if you had to guess or pick a team?
That's tough. To be honest with you, it's really hard to root against the Giants right now because the Giants have been on a roll all season. People didn't think they were going to be this good, but they are this good, and so I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants make it. I don't know if they'll win. Dodgers, it's hard to root against the Dodgers. They're awesome. I mean, you can't take anything away from them. On the American League side, I mean, the Rays, I'd love to see the Rays win it. The Rays, man, they just have a way of developing players that's just amazing to me. And the Yankees are still in it. I think the Red Sox are still in it. I mean, there's a lot of teams still in it, but I have a feeling it's going to be a National League team this year that's probably going to end up winning. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I'll keep watching, just like I always do. So a couple of things on cord cutting talk, Tim. The biggest news that came out, and you may not be familiar with Locast, Tim, but Locast is a service where they were set up in certain cities, and basically what they did was they would set up an antenna in that city, and then anybody within the area of that antenna could stream their local channels through Locast. And so basically Locast had this antenna, and instead of setting up your own antenna, it's basically like you're using the Locast antenna to get your local stations. So Locast had done this in several cities. Well, they got sued by NBC, ABC, CBS for doing this, saying that they're basically providing a streaming service. It's not really an over-the-air service and all this kind of stuff. Well, they lost their most recent lawsuit and have shut down now. So they are shutting down, and that's a shame because I really felt like that was a really neat service. It's not that hard to put an antenna up on your, to hook an antenna up to your TV and to watch your local channels, depending on how far outside of, your broadcast range you are. But it is kind of a bummer because I really felt like Locast had a cool idea, and they basically, the big three just squashed it. So it was a good service while it lasted, Tim, but we'll never see Locast come here, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Two other things I wanted to talk about. Seinfeld is coming to Netflix, Tim. All of it.
Wow, all of them.
All of them. So you get to watch the Frogger episode if you really like that one with George Costanza and the Frogger machine. Bless you, Tim.
Yeah.
And so, along with all the rest of the episodes of Seinfeld, Seinfeld is funny. I like certain episodes. I don't like them all. I like certain episodes. It was a good show, Tim. Immensely popular during its time on NBC, and so if you enjoy Seinfeld, definitely check it out when it comes to Netflix. And then, Tim, we talked about Manifest. I believe some of the people in the live chat last time were saying that they watch Manifest. It has. We now know that Netflix has picked up a season 4 and will be the final season of Manifest. So they picked it up for an additional season just kind of to close out the story. So if you're watching Manifest now, you're going to get to see a conclusion. That's the good news. So,
Awesome.
And I also found out today, Tim, that there have been talks about bringing 24 back to Fox. And anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge 24 fan. Kiefer Sutherland as a whole, that guy's awesome. But Jack Bauer, is one of my favorite characters on television history, and I really want to see some more 24. So hopefully they make that happen. We'll find out soon. But Tim, let's go ahead and pivot that into talking about some of the TV shows we've been watching currently. So go ahead, and you can mention the one we both have been watching, along with anything else you got, Tim.
Yeah, kind of stumbled across this on Netflix, and I didn't really know what it was about, and the first episode kind of had me hooked after that. So you and I both have been watching a show called Evil, and it's kind of like, what do we say, CSI meets, what did we say
X-Files.
earlier on? X-Files, yeah. So it's actually a good show for me and my wife. It's a little spooky, not too spooky, but it has a lot of sci-fi in it too, and just some comedy. Can I say comedy and humor? And it's a little bit of a great acting. So it kind of, me and her both have been really enjoying watching. If you haven't seen Evil, you can watch the first season on Netflix, and you can watch the second season now on Paramount Plus. So we have switched to, actually got Paramount just to watch that. And so I really have enjoyed watching that. Other than that, I was watching Westworld, and for those who are fans of that, once I got into season 3, I really lost interest. Once they got off the set and went into the real world, I don't know, I was binge watching that like crazy, and then it just lost me. So maybe I'll go back and finish that up, but as right now, Evil is my show, and about all I've had time to watch. What about you, John?
Well, let me put in a second nod for Evil, Tim. I loved it. Loved it so far. You're further ahead than I am. I'm about halfway through season 1. You're all the way through, almost through season 2 now. But I got Paramount Plus this month because of the Paw Patrol movie. My kids wanted to see the Paw Patrol movie. It was only on Paramount Plus, so we did a free month trial with Paramount Plus. And Tim, I must say that I do like the content that they have on Paramount Plus. A couple other things I've watched on Paramount Plus besides Evil is Behind the Music, the original Behind the Music. So they take the they've done some new ones with some new artists, but they've also taken the old Behind the Music episodes that VH1 used to do in the day and updated them with the artists. So they have one on Duran Duran, they have one on Huey Lewis. So those of you who are 80s fans obviously recognize those. The last one they released, Tim, was New Kids on the Block, and yes, I did watch that one.
Oh, wow.
So what are you going to say?
I said, wow, I bet that was pretty interesting.
It really was, and it updated quite a bit from the one that they released like back in the early 2000s. But basically they go through and they get the artist back in the chair, and they do the original Behind the Music episode and then add additional content since that ended. So really cool stuff if you're and they got the original narrator, Tim, too, from the Behind the Music episodes. So he's on it too, the voiceover guy, who I always thought did a really good job. But I'm a big Behind the Music fan, love that stuff. And if you like it, new episodes on Paramount Plus, highly recommended. Let's see, we did the Paw Patrol movie, I mentioned that. Tim, last month people said they had watched the Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime Video. and I watched it. I liked it. That's the one with Chris
Okay.
Pratt and the, like 30 years in the future. Have you seen it?
No, it's on my watch list. I just haven't had time
Okay.
yet.
Well, you should watch The Tomorrow War. I actually liked it. I can see how some people would think it was bad and some people would think it was good, but I thought it was good. So you're
Okay.
either on one side or the other on the fence on that, I feel like, but I definitely liked it. It was good. So The Tomorrow War on Prime Video, if you have Amazon Prime. Tim, I watched Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman on HBO Max, which was supposed to come out in the movie theaters. Very good. And now I
Okay.
should start off by saying I'm a huge Hugh Jackman fan. So he is awesome, great actor. And Reminiscence, I felt like was great. I really enjoyed it. So the ending was bittersweet. I will warn you. So if you're a happy ending person, it's not really happy, but it was still good. Highly recommended.
Okay.
I also saw Jungle Cruise, Tim, with The Rock and what's her name from Mary Poppins? I can't even think of her name. But
Okay.
I watched Jungle Cruise. It was a fun movie. The storyline had bits that absolutely made no sense. But if you just want a fun, like action-y, adventure-y movie, it's fun. I mean, it's a good thing to sit down with your teenage kids and watch and just laugh and have a good time with. I watched Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, Tim. Have you seen that?
No.
Very good. Basically a karate G.I. Joe movie. So I liked it a lot. So I recommend that. I watched Stillwater with Matt Damon. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of it and saw the previews, but I haven't watched it.
Okay, so Matt Damon plays a guy from Stillwater, Oklahoma, sends his daughter off to college in France, and she gets convicted of killing her roommate. And
Right.
that's all I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So, and obviously he goes over there to visit her. But they're from Stillwater,
Okay.
Oklahoma, hence the name Stillwater.
All right.
So, and you like, I know you're a big Oklahoma fan, Tim, so you should watch it for that. But another one that has a bittersweet ending. So,
Okay. I've been to Stillwater,
there you
Oklahoma.
go. So,
That's a Oklahoma State fan if you're from
there you
Stillwater.
go. So I will say this though, if you want happy endings, not a lot of what I've watched lately has had happy endings. So unfortunately, Jungle Cruise has a semi-happy ending. I'll say that. Paw Patrol definitely does, Tim. It's Paw Patrol. Yeah.
Hey.
Vivo, which is a kids movie on Netflix, where all of the music, it's a musical cartoon movie where all the music was done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who also did Hamilton, Tim, if you're familiar.
Okay.
Really good. Really enjoyed that. I mean, even as an adult, the kids like the music. The music is great in it, but the story was good too. And so for a kids animated movie, it was better than Paw Patrol in my opinion. But it just depends. We watch a lot of that stuff because we have kids. So the only other thing I've watched is Heels, which is the new pro wrestling show on Stars.
Oh, okay.
And it has Stephen Amell, who I like a lot because I was a big Arrow fan. It's good so far. I think they're only 3 or 4 episodes in, but so far I'm enjoying it. So if you have Stars, you may want to check it out. It's worth a watch. But me and Tim were talking beforehand, and between Peacock and Paramount, Paramount seems to be the better value. Both of those are $5 on their ad plan. But for the content that you get, I feel like Paramount has better content than Peacock. Unless you're like a WWE wrestling fan, then Peacock has the wrestling content there. But otherwise, I would recommend Paramount. Plus, with Paramount, you get your local CBS affiliate, which is always handy. So,
Right.
But if you guys have anything else that we should be watching, you can leave it in the live chat or just leave a comment here down below, and we'll check it out. Seahorses and Night says you guys watched the Trashers hockey documentary on Netflix. I have not. I don't even know what he's talking about, Tim. Do you?
I don't either.
So
I'll look it up.
yeah, absolutely. I'll look that one up. Yeah, there's nothing else I can think of offhand that I've been watching. But I mean, obviously, I've had a time to watch some movies, which is crazy because I hadn't really had that much time before. I watch them in like 2 halves, though. I watch the first half and the second half. So, if you're gonna watch one of those that I talked about, Reminiscence was probably my favorite. So with Hugh Jackman,
Okay.
I thought it was really well done. It's sci-fi, so if you like sci-fi movies, it's got a sci-fi bent to it. But if you're gonna watch one, you got HBO Max. Reminiscence is the one I'm gonna recommend. Tim, anything else for TV shows, movies, anything else before we get off of here and go watch some football?
No, it's almost game time, and I'm getting hungry.
There you go. Well, guys, we'll see you back here. I'm going to go ahead and look up what the next... I think we have 4 weeks, Tim, to the next episode. And, of course, we were a week delayed on this one. But it looks like October the 7th, Tim, will be our next episode of the show. So October 7th, if everything goes well, we'll be back with you guys here in the live chat. And, Tim, it actually looks like we're having some buffering issues anyway. So it sounds like a great time to go. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. We'll see you in October for the live show. Send us some questions at arcaderepairtips.com. We'll make sure to cover those on the next live show. And until then, take care, everybody. We hope you all stay healthy and well, and just do what you can to stay away from COVID. Take care. Bye.
Mhm.